Hi. I just have a question because I still can't see why you say that the hog industry is in a bullish state. Because I believe that we need proper subsidy for the farmers, for the hog farmers, and for generally for microfinancing them. So as they because I think that the problem lies with the with the farmers themselves, that they may not have enough money so that they can raise the hogs, which in turn means less pigs for us. Yeah. So, what would be your comment on that?
Well, Filipino farmers are very, very pliant, what's more important is to support us in terms of the technology, in terms of the feeds that we require. And government doesn't really have to interfere. They just have to reduce their taxes. That's all. I think interfering they should interfere in specific areas, like, for example, animal health, to make sure that what you eat is good. That one, I agree, they should come in.
This is an interesting point about health, because over the past few years, there have been terrible epidemics in the hog industry. I mean, we were having there were all sorts of exotic sounding diseases that were spreading. We have the notes here somewhere, but this is an important point. I mean, last year Bulacan was particularly hard hit. Something
Yes.
like 23 out of 25 towns that were producing it had them decimated. You had a kind of coronavirus coming
Yes.
in. Okay, what was that due to? Is that a disease coming in from abroad, or?
I'd like to answer that, but
Okay.
I hope I won't be a biased person to answer that. We feel that it came from abroad. Why? It's called the porcine epidemic diarrhea.
Okay.
It's a winter disease. We don't have winter in the Philippines, so it must have, that virus came from out of this country, And we feel the government did not do enough to make sure it did not come in. Just
Doing enough is what? Border quarantine controls,
Exactly.
basically preventing smuggling, because that means someone brought
Yes,
in
in both cases, yes, because diseases can come in many forms. You can have it in your shoe. You can bring it along. Maybe if you went to Thailand, you went to some other exotic countries, you might be bringing it in. Now, all we want to do is to make this country secure from diseases. Oh, by the way, these epidemics do not transfer to humans. It's just the problem of the farmer. And of course, it becomes a problem to you when there is less production, it becomes more expensive. So that is where government should really intervene.
No, just to give you an idea of the scale of an epidemic like this, the research we did says that the cost of a healthy sow, that's a female pig, is 100,000 pesos. So you get one of these diarrhea epidemics, and potentially you lose millions of pesos, especially if it's the sow bearing the little
Actually,
piglets.
when we say the epidemic, well, that's because in a farm, for example, you have 100 sows. You can a batch of sows, or a batch of sows that will farrow or give birth for a specific period would be about 20. And if you get this PED in your farm, then you can have as much as no production for that batch of 20. So, well, it's not really an epidemic. It just happens in the farm. It doesn't go away. So the best way is to close your farm. Seal off your farm. Don't bring in any other pigs. Defend yourself from it. Make sure your biosecurity measures are at a very, very high level.
Okay, earlier you were saying you might be biased because the counter argument, because this whole argument about what brought in the disease, was it smuggling, and then the ones who reacted were the meat processors, because
yes.
the production of for example of pork is not enough to meet demand. Am I correct? Your production.
Right now, I would say yes. Maybe they would, but they have been importing. The only thing I think we've been asking the meat processors is to make sure that the pork that they import, or the parts of the pork that they import, should be coming from a recognized OIE. OIE is the animal disease organization that accredits a country. As long as it is accredited by the OIE, as long as it is FMD free, it is hog cholera free.
FMD being foot and mouth
yes,
disease.
Foot and mouth disease.
But the debate basically boils down to something very similar to the rice question, which is that it turns out we cannot produce enough pork to meet local demand. Is that a fair statement?
That would not be fair because we can actually produce, you know, given sufficient.
But right now we are not.
Yes, maybe in terms of the products, but in terms of pigs, I think we can produce it. You see, the meat processors require manufacturing grade. I hope you understand that. They require manufacturing grade. They don't need the table grade. You see, the table grade which we all are eating, like liempo, kasim, these are table grade materials. And of course, the farmers would rather be selling this table grade because it's a premium meat. So who wants to produce a manufacturing grade?
Okay, I don't know if I want to know what a lower grade
of fatter animals is a manufacturing grade.
You have a question.
We have another question here from Yen. Yen.
Hi, I really find your confidence interesting because I was able to talk to some of the people in Congress because a lot of us are working there, interning there right now. And so we asked around, we asked them about the swine issue, the hog issue. And according to them, a lot of hog raisers in the local, in the provinces are actually disdained because, well, at least you guys, the big ass hog producers, the big ass swine raisers, you guys can cushion the crisis right now because you have funding, you have the capital. But what about the little people, like the little people in the barangays who raise who raise pigs? I mean, from what I heard, they're not exactly getting much help from the government and funding from the government. So how exactly is the system? Do you help the little people? Do you help the little pig raisers?
I'm glad you raised that because there's a news report here that we copied where someone, one of these small hog raisers said, "I'd rather raise my kids and spend my money on my kids than spend it on a pig because my kid," and this was very, very blunt talk, "my kid will give me a higher return on investment than a pig that might get diarrhea and die."
Exactly.
So no, really, I mean, you are speaking for the big players here, and there's a concern that, are you trying to convince everyone to go in the direction of commercial, sort of large-scale pig pork farming?
Honestly, yes. Okay. If you are alone, it's really very difficult. You know, most of the hog farms now are being consolidated into cooperatives. I know cooperatives have never been successful. However, some are. There are exemptions. I mean, a very classic example of a very good cooperative is Limcoma. It has its own piggery. I mean, its members have piggeries. They produce their feed. They have their own feeds. They produce their own feeds. They have their own feed mill. They even now have their own products, pork products. You know, you cannot do it alone, honestly. Well, unless of course you have the capital. But there are such things as cooperatives.
Okay, because Danding Cojuangco, of course, who's a big head of San Miguel and has an interest in this thing, is advocating industrial farming.
Yes.
And of course, they're the company that produce feeds for the pigs and other things. So,
BIMIG.
is this sort of a joint sort of advocacy that you guys have? I mean, how then do you attend to the little mom and pop pig farmer that she's talking about? How do you bring them into this?
I mean, like you were saying about San Miguel, they have their program for small farmers. You get the pig, you get the feeds, and they buy it back from you. That's a very good deal, right? I mean, it's just now a matter of how you take care of the pig.